TBR stands for to be read. It's a place where you mentally keep track of books you want to read, where you physically keep track of books you want to read, and where maybe you keep track of the books you want to read online. In my case, I press a little button on Goodreads and think maybe one day I'll get to it, and that one day could take days, weeks, months, and at this point, years. On April 16th, 2017, I discovered Goodreads and the fun of tracking reading. I marked several books as want to read and haven't looked back since, until today. I decided to pick up several books from that day and chose which ones I would read, and essentially I let my 13-year-old self pick what books I wanted to read for the next couple weeks. It went alright. I have started A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray. I'm probably 10% in. I got it from my public library, and using this really nice bookmark that my mom crocheted for me. So far, it's not what I expected. For some reason, I was expecting something completely different. I don't even remember what got me into yeah, I'm gonna put this on my TBR. And again, it was a long time ago, but it follows this girl. Her name is, what was her name? Gemma. She's a British girl who lived in India with her mom, and it pretty much describes her mom's gruesome death, and it's within the first chapter. And honestly, I was like, huh? I don't know, I was not expecting that at all. She moves back to Britain. So far that's where I've gotten. She's back in Britain with her grandmother. They're not blaming her for her mother's death, but they're like, why did you run away from your mother before she died? That's not very nice. And she's like, I don't know why I did it. And because she and her mom used to be really close, and then suddenly, now that she's 16, she's like, I'm a big girl now, why are you bossing me around? Her relationship with her mother is strained, but it used to not be. They used to be really close. And then this last day with her mother, she essentially tells her mother sees this man, and she's she has a freak out session, I guess. And she's like, oh, you know what? Take my necklace. So she gives it to Gemma, and she's like, just know that I love you. And Gemma was so mad about not being able to get pastries for her birthday with her mom that she's like, yeah, well, I hope I never see you again. I hope you don't come home. Which is a brutal thing to say. And so she ran away, got lost, and then she had a vision of her mom. And I wasn't quite expecting that at all. I was expecting a horror, historical fiction about maybe 1500s, Pride and Prejudice type vibes. That's kind of what I got from the cover. Maybe she's a servant and she attracts a lot of other men, but I'm not really sure. And so we'll see how this goes. So far I like it. I have to clean my room because it's a big mess, but I downloaded the audiobook, so I'll probably listen to that as I clean my room. But so far I think this will be an easy read. But honestly, that first chapter got me huh? That's crazy. I wasn't expecting that at all, and I had to check this was YA and everything. When was this published? 2012. Interesting. I've never really heard anybody else talk about this book, so look at the glare. It's kind of annoying. Anyway. I spent a lot of time reading. I just lost track of time. I'm halfway through the book now. I was listening to the audiobook as I cleaned my room, and initially I was around there-ish. And now this is where I was. Take out my bookmark. This is about where I am now. I'm halfway through the book. Chapter 19 I left off. Maybe a little more. So far, it's actually pretty good. I'm really enjoying it. So far, what I've read is that Gemma has to go to a boarding school 2 months after her mother's death. And now that she's at this boarding school, she's meeting and making a lot of friends. Some of these friends are, it's like a girl dynamic type thing. There's a lot of drama that goes on. There's a lot of they shouldn't be bullying her, and she stands up for one of the girls that was being bullied because of her wealth status. But then it's got the added twist of she's got this dark force, and this guy is telling her not to be communicating with the forces that are trying to entice her. And she's learning about the history of another girl who kind of went through the same thing with a friend, and they wrote a diary about it, and she's picking up clues about what happened to this girl, and she's asking around the school, and she's finding out like the history that this girl has and how it's correlating to what she's experiencing now, and like she's finding out answers to what she's going through. So far, I'm like really enjoying it. I think I'm gonna finish this. I don't know why I wanted to read this, but I'm really glad I did. I've never heard of this book before, like, and nobody else has talked about it, but like it's been sitting on my TBR shelf for like 5 years, so glad I gave it like a go, I guess. I'm about 80% through the book. I'm really enjoying it, actually. It's starting to pick up. They're facing their conflict. So far I'm really enjoying it, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Later I'll be hanging out with my friends, so I'm definitely not gonna have time to finish, but I think it'll still be fun. I finished The Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray, and to say the least, I think I give it like a 3. I want to give it 3.5 stars, upwards of 4, but I think it's like meriting a solid 4 stars. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like to the point where I would give it 5 stars. The characters, they're 16 years old. They feel 16 years old, and the setting is very much like, it starts out in India, you feel like you're in India, she moves to London, and it feels like she's in London, and then whenever she goes to like the spiritual type world, it feels like she's in the very spiritual type world. I really like how the author is like able to transport you through the different settings, and I also really enjoyed that the characters felt very, very much what I feel like I was like when I was 16, although that wasn't that long ago. I think she did a really good job showing what girls at the time, and even like now, go through with like what people say about themselves and their bodies, and even like the lead male character, I forgot his name, but he's Indian, and how he might be a little over-sexualized and like exoticized because he's Indian, or like the other gypsies, which I think could be criticized for, the book could be criticized for that, but I think she does a very good job where Gemma notices that like, oh, like this isn't good, and at the time that's what people of color were thought of to be like, and I thought she portrayed that very well, and even now people of color may be like exoticized. So I finished listening to the book, and there was like a snippet at the end of the audiobook, at least, where she talked about her writing process, Libba Bray did, and I thought that was really interesting. She talked about how she tried like more than 59 outlines, and none of them were what she wanted, and so she just started writing the book, and eventually when she finished that, she turned it in, and after so many edits and scrapping like 2/3 of what she had originally, she ended up traveling over to, I think she said, Britain, and like exploring there, and how different it was than what she was expecting, because she was expecting like this Victorian type style, and it wasn't quite that. But she went to the library, she figured things out. It was really interesting to see like her writing process, and like how I read a little bit inside this book where she explained that the main character was supposed to be a little lighter and a little funnier, where Gemma is like not like that at all in the book. She's a very much like serious character. Yeah, overall, I'd say a solid 4 stars. I enjoyed it. The Great and Terrible Beauty. I didn't know it was a series, so I will most likely continue on with the series, and this is the first book that I've read that has been sitting on my TBR for the longest. I'm not very sure what the next book will be, but we'll figure that out probably tomorrow. So parked between two trucks, and I've never really had to do that before. So I finally understand what people mean by like, parking between two trucks is like so strange. You feel like you're encased in a tomb almost. But I think there was like a guy in the parking lot. I think he's gone now. I was kind of nervous he would see me recording. Okay, so I just got back from the library and I picked up some more books that were on my TBR shelf for 7+ years. Actually, I figured out the number. I think it was April 16th, like 20, I don't know. But that was the day that I marked up like a couple of books as I wanted to read, and then I just never got back to them. One of them being Lily's Crossing, and not too surprised that it was in the Juneville section, but hang on, I think my dad's calling. I'm back home now. As I was saying, my big stack of books that I checked out from the library. First one, Lily's Crossing, since I had talked about Lily's Crossing. It's got a Newbery Honor book, or it says that it's a Newbery Honor book. I'm excited to start reading it. It says in Goodreads that it's a series, but I'm not very sure if it actually is, because my library doesn't mark it as if it were in a series, but then again, they didn't have the second book, so I'm not super sure. And if it is, I'm not very sure if I will be continuing with the series as well. But I'm excited. I'll probably get started on this one soon. And then I got, for the second book that was in my TBR for the longest time, was Freckles. I was surprised that this was in the adult fiction. For some reason, I thought this was also going to be Juneville fiction. I didn't even consider it being young adult fiction. I have no clue what it's about. It looks like, oh, is this a play? No, it's not. But it's got a list of the names of the characters, which is interesting. And you can tell it's like an older book as well. It was published in 1904. First published in 1904. This one was published in 1997. It's so cool to find books that are older than you. I just got home from finishing a couple errands. I worked out for a bit, I took a shower, and my brother and I went for a walk, and it was great. So now I'm gonna sit down, probably for a little bit, read Lily's Crossing. I got back home a little later than I expected, and I'm kind of tired, so we'll see. Now that we're here, I ended up finishing Lily's Crossing. I think I gave it like a 3.5 stars. It was okay. I could totally tell that it was meant for like younger audiences, which is perfectly fine. It kind of gives like Number the Stars, Lois Lowry type vibes. I didn't realize that it was going to be like a summer read because this book takes place over the summer primarily. It follows this young girl named Lily who during the summer she goes and she sees like her summer friend, and she lives in a summer house for a while with her dad and her grandma, and she has summer plans with her friend, but then suddenly her friend has to move because her dad has taken a job in a different state because of World War II. And so she moves, and Lily's like distraught about this because she's like, how am I gonna spend my summer? Who am I gonna spend my summer with now that my friend's gone? And suddenly there's this boy that kind of appears out of nowhere, and his name is Albert, and they become friends because they both are going through kind of like the same thing. Not necessarily, but Lily's dad has to go to a different country for the war, and Albert has a sister that is in France. So they kind of like explore their struggles together, and they grow together, and they build this friendship, and it's very sweet. And the reason I gave it 3.5 stars is because I'm pretty sure I'm not going to remember much about the book, and I don't know, it was okay, but it wasn't like amazing. It wasn't like I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. Like, it was 180 pages, and I could like finish this in a sitting or 2 sittings if I wanted to, and I just didn't, because I was okay with it or whatever. I also started Little Women, which has also been sitting on my TBR since April 16th, 2017. The weird thing is that like it doesn't show up in my Goodreads on my phone, but it shows up in my Goodreads on my computer with like 5 stars. So I must have rated Little Women 5 stars without having read it, which is like ridiculous. Why would I ever do that? But I'm reading it now. I got the book on Libby for now, so I'm reading it that way for now because I'll read it quicker that way, and I got laundry to do, and typically when I do laundry I like listen to an audiobook. It helps me pass time. You like my baby? His name is Baby. His little hands, isn't that so cute? Anyway, I'm about 2 chapters into Little Women. It's okay. I don't really like the narration of it. It's like, and now we will describe the characters, and I'm like, I know that it's like old-timey or whatever, but it's not like, I don't know, it's like, just you don't have to tell me that you're gonna describe them, or like we're gonna learn about their character personality traits later, because I mean, as a reader, I get it. We'll learn about that later, I know. And I don't know if it's like a juvenile fiction. I don't think it is, but I think it'll be okay. I think it'll change as it goes. It's probably just because it's an older book, which is, you know, it's whatever, I guess. Next, I'm gonna pick up another older book called Freckles by Stratton-Porter, and this is a Puffin classic. It says Puffin classic on the cover, and I got this in the adult fiction book. I think I've said that before. Going through this, I have a bad feeling I'm gonna DNF this. Like, it doesn't look as interesting. I don't know what caused me to like say, oh yeah, I want to like read that book, because it doesn't quite look interesting. It does kind of give summary vibes though, but I don't know. It was first published in 1904. This book is over 100 years old. 1904 plus 100, that's 2004. Yeah, this book is over 100 years old. That's crazy. I don't know, we'll see. I might not read the whole book. So we'll see. I mean, maybe I'll surprise myself. I think it's gonna be like a harder to read book for me, and I'm not so sure that like I want to do that, but I think it'll be okay. So I have to do some homework tonight. If I have time, I'll read Freckles, but if not, it's no biggie. I'll start it tomorrow and not worry about it. Also, I got this, I know somebody gifted this to me, like this beautiful like dragon bookmark. It's so pretty. I could tell it was from Barnes & Noble, because Barnes & Noble sells these types of bookmarks, but the thing on the end fell off, and I had another bookmark that pretty much had the same deal, and it also fell off. So I have like a feeling that Barnes & Noble is just kind of like iffy with the bookmarks, but it's kind of annoying. I don't know. It's alright. 2 books down, maybe 2 more to go. Oh, he's got a little dirty. There we go. So I am almost done with the laundry, not quite completely done, but mostly done with the laundry, and I'm about 40% through Little Women. Each chapter is like a lesson that you know the girls learn based off of like stories that their mother told them, things that they experienced, and honestly it was almost like watching the movie Little Women. I really enjoyed it, and now I think the plot is starting to move. It's still about the lesson they learn throughout the book, but every chapter is a lesson that the girls learn and a takeaway that the reader can take. So far I'm enjoying the book, but now I have to do chemistry homework, so I think I'm gonna be done with reading Little Women, and maybe I'll read a little bit of Freckles tonight, which is surprisingly pretty good. I didn't think I would like it. Like, I don't know why I thought I was gonna DNF it just by looking at it. I'm enjoying it so far, so pleasant surprise. But that's a little mini update. I'm back. So last night I ended up finishing Freckles by Stratton-Porter, and yeah, it was alright. I'm not gonna lie, by the second half of the book I was like, oh, I just want this to be over. The story just wasn't that interesting to me, and I don't know if it's because it's a classic and I just got bored, or it was just that I just got bored. But it follows the story of a young Irish boy that is orphaned in Indiana. Once he is out and pretty much like in the real world, he asks for help and like for a job. So he meets up with this one guy and he's like, hey, like I want a job. And he's like, you're not gonna want this, besides you have a disability. And he's like, I can work hard, like you can trust me, like I need to work. So he starts working at Limberlost, and he watches over the trees to make sure nobody's like taking them, stuff like that. And he works hard and he meets a girl, and he doesn't fall in love with her on the spot, but he falls in love with her on the spot. The book is a romance between the two of them, and I don't know, I guess I'm just not used to reading romances like this. It was like a romance, like classic type romance. Like he meets her, he's in love with her, he's a gentleman, so he doesn't say anything. I don't know, it was okay. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. It was good, but it wasn't like amazing to me. Like I'm not gonna be thinking about this in a week or so. But it was good to get out of my comfort zone. I guess I can see why I wanted to read it when I marked it as to read 7 years ago, because it was a romance and I wanted to read romances. But now I'm like noticing, even if it's a romance, it doesn't mean that I'm gonna enjoy it, and it doesn't mean that it's the type of romance that I want to be reading. But yeah, I really like how the story is very connected to nature. That was like one aspect of the story of the book that I really liked, the connection to nature. He was always outside in the woods, and his girl, her name was Angel, or that's what he called her, and the bird woman who was tracking the birds in the area, they both were always outside looking at the birds. They were very connected to nature. Like this is very much like a nature type book. And it's like kind of like it wasn't a side plot, but it was like a side type quest in the novel. And I kind of like that. It was like different, it was enjoyable. And he talked about like his birds like they were his chickens, even though they were definitely not chickens. But yeah, overall it was alright. 3.5 stars. Not gonna be thinking about it in a week though. I could definitely see how people would like this book and appreciate it, because it was very romance heavy based, and like classical romance, and very nature. I'm halfway through Little Women right now. I had it checked out on Libby with my library and I was listening to it that way, but I kind of took too long with it, so I'm about halfway, but I probably won't be finishing it for a while because I had to return it back to the library. But I think once I finish that book, I'll be done with my little challenge that I set for myself, so I'm excited about that. Yeah.